I smiled. I actually smiled right to my boss's face after he told me I wasn't qualified for the promotion I'd spent the last 5 years of my life bleeding for. He looked confused, maybe even a little triumphant, but I didn't care. I simply said, "Thank you for your honesty, Michael," turned on my heel and walked out of the office. I got in my car, drove home, and didn't look back. 2 days later, my phone started ringing off the hook, the kind of frantic, desperate ringing you only hear in bad movies, and I let it go straight to voicemail. The entire company was in freefall, and I was sitting on my sofa, sipping expensive coffee, watching the chaos unfold on my work laptop. It was without a doubt the most satisfying moment of my entire professional life, and the question I have for all of you watching this is simple. Was I an absolute monster for destroying my own career just to watch my boss and his favorite sink with the ship? Or was this the only justice I was ever going to get? Seriously, tell me in the comments right now. The story really starts 5 years ago, right after I graduated college with a dual degree in software engineering and business management. I was, by all accounts, a rising star. I landed a job at Omnicorp, a mid-sized but rapidly expanding tech firm, as a junior software developer. I loved the work. I was passionate about the elegant logic of coding the problem, solving in the way a perfectly written line of code could make a complicated process run flawlessly. My initial boss, Sarah, was incredible. She was a mentor, a champion for my work. And she was the one who first told me I had a trajectory that would take me all the way to a senior leadership position. She started calling me the future of the department after I single-handedly fixed a crippling bug in our main client-facing platform that had been plaguing the team for months. Things were great, really great. I was working 50 to 60 hours a week, but I was happy. I was growing and I was valued. Then, about 3 years into my time there, Sarah took a promotion to a different division, and Michael came in as my new department head. Michael was different. He was the classic idea guy who hated details. He loved to talk about synergy and disruption, and was obsessed with looking good to the VP, but he genuinely had no idea how the core systems worked. From day one, he seemed to resent my competence, or at least, he found it inconvenient. My detailed, factual reports would often contradict his flashy, high-level presentations, and he hated being corrected, even subtly. The real trouble, however, started 6 months ago when the position of Senior Director of Platform Operations opened up. This was the promotion. It was a massive jump in responsibility, pay, and prestige. It was a role that managed all the core technological infrastructure of the company. Everyone in the department, assumed it was mine. I had the most experience with the platforms, the best performance reviews, and I was the one who had actually built or maintained 90% of the systems the senior director would oversee. I spent 2 months preparing my application, detailing every major project I'd led and every system I'd optimized. Michael, of course, was in charge of the hiring process. He praised my application in our one-on-one, saying it was stellar and exactly what they were looking for. He gave me all the encouraging nods and vague compliments that HR managers are trained to use. I was flying high, already imagining the changes I would implement. Then, 2 weeks before the final decision, Michael hired a new person directly into our team, a man named Chad. Chad was fresh out of a very expensive MBA program and had spent the last 2 years consulting, which, as far as I could tell, meant he was good at making PowerPoint slides. He had 0 hands-on coding or platform management experience. I didn't think much of it at first. The team was growing and we needed people. But then the favoritism began. Michael started giving Chad high visibility win projects. He would invite Chad to meetings that I, as the lead developer on the system, wasn't invited to. Michael started introducing Chad to VP as my strategic partner. while I was still the guy who fixes the bugs. It was humiliating, but I kept my head down, focusing on the incredibly complex, unglamorous, and absolutely critical work that kept the lights on. The real nail in the coffin came 3 months ago. Our company had a major secret infrastructure project, migrating our entire client database and transaction processing system, which was the beating heart of our revenue stream, to a new, highly secure private server farm. It was a monumental task riddled with security risks and integration nightmares. I was the only person in the entire department who had the institutional knowledge and technical ability to manage the custom API integrations and data migration scripts. I had been working on the migration plan for nearly a year. Michael, in his infinite wisdom, decided this project was too important to leave to just one person, and he assigned Chad as the co-lead. Chad's contribution, organizing the status update meetings and designing the project Gantt chart. My contribution, writing 90% of the code, debugging 100% of the integration errors, and working 3 weekends straight to ensure the transition was seamless. I even created a highly specialized, proprietary set of administrative access keys, let's call them the golden keys, that were necessary to access the new server's deepest configuration and emergency rollback protocols. These keys were tied to my specific security token, and only I had the full, unencrypted access sequence, which was a necessity given the highly customized nature of the migration. I had a separate, secured document with the full, detailed technical schematics and the access instructions, and only one copy existed. It was my baby, my most complex and critical piece of work. Finally, the day of the announcement arrived. Michael called me into his office, and there he was, sitting behind his mahogany desk, a plastic smile plastered on his face. He started with the usual platitudes about my hard work and dedication. I braced myself for the good news. Instead, he said, "Look, David, you're a fantastic coder, truly the best developer we have. But the senior director role, it's not a coding role, it's a leadership role. It requires vision, and strategic alignment, He paused, leaning forward conspiratorially. "And frankly, we've decided to go in a different direction. You're just not qualified for that level of strategic thinking. You're a brilliant technician, but you're not a leader." The gut punch wasn't the rejection, it was the condescension. He was telling me that my passion, my expertise, the 5 years of my life I'd invested, had rendered me a brilliant but ultimately disposable tool. He then announced that Chad had been given the promotion. Chad, the guy who couldn't write a Hello World program without Stack Overflow, was now in charge of the entire platform's operation. When Michael saw the look on my face of the sheer, cold shock, he tried to soften the blow by offering me a new title, Principal Technical Analyst. It was a meaningless title with no raise and no change in responsibilities. It was his way of kicking me to the curb while still keeping my technical expertise on tap. That's when I smiled, not a happy smile, but a calm, terrifying smile. I realized in that moment that I had a choice. Spend the next decade being Chad's brilliant, underpaid, and uncredited technical grunt, or reclaim my worth. So I said, "Thank you for your honesty, Michael," and I walked out. I didn't quit right then because I knew what I had to do first. I drove home, and for the next 24 hours, I didn't touch my work laptop. I started quietly transferring all the non-critical, non-proprietary personal documentation I had built up over the years, my old performance reviews, my initial project documentation, and my personal notes on the core architecture, onto an encrypted thumb drive. The only thing I didn't touch was the highly secured document containing the golden keys and the full, detailed schematics for the new database. I had that stored on a private, air-gapped server at home, and the original copy was locked in a safe. It was a digital ghost of my most valuable work. Then, I wrote my formal resignation letter, short and professional, citing a need to pursue new career challenges. I submitted it at 5:01 p.m. the next day, a Friday, effectively making my last day immediately. I did not log into any of my work systems after that. I didn't answer any calls or check my work email. I was free. I had made my peace. So. That's the situation I was in. I had just been passed over for a massive promotion by a clueless boss who gave it to his unqualified favorite, and I was sitting on the digital key to the company's entire revenue stream. I had the power to prevent an inevitable catastrophe, or I could simply walk away and let the consequences of Michael's and Chad's incompetence play out. Before I tell you what happened next, what my act of professional self-preservation unleashed, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have been the bigger person and handed over the keys, or would you have walked away and let them fail? ***, the weekend passed in a peaceful haze. I spent my time applying for new, senior-level roles at competitor firms, roles that specifically required the exact expertise Michael had just told me I lacked. I was already receiving interview requests. I was happy, relieved, and felt a profound sense of vindication, knowing my worth was being recognized elsewhere. Then came Monday, at 9:00 a.m. My personal phone started vibrating. It was Michael. I sent it to voicemail. Then Chad, then the head of HR, then, alarmingly, a number I recognized as belonging to one of the VP. I sat back and watched the world burn. Omnicorp had a highly critical, automated security update scheduled for 10:00 a.m. Monday morning, one that had been months in the making. This update required the new server farm to temporarily shut down its external transaction processing layer for 30 minutes, to properly restart the services and reestablish the custom API connection to the legacy internal systems after the update. The golden keys, the access sequence I had created and secured were absolutely necessary. It wasn't a problem that could be fixed with a simple restart. It was a complex, multi-stage protocol tied to the specific, proprietary migration architecture I had designed. Chad, the newly minted senior director, was, naturally, the one tasked with overseeing this update. He didn't know the keys existed, let alone where they were. Michael, who was now his boss, only had a vague, high-level understanding of the secure handshake protocol, but had no idea about the technical execution. The 10:00 a.m. security update went off without a hitch. The problem started at 10:30 a.m. when Chad tried to bring the systems back online. The legacy systems couldn't talk to the new server farm. Transactions were backing up. Client data was locked in limbo. The custom API connection, which was the lifeblood of the company, was dark. Chad was undoubtedly sitting in a conference room, frantically clicking around, likely staring at cryptic error messages that meant nothing to him. By 11:00 a.m., the VP were likely screaming. Revenue was stopping. The company was essentially frozen. The phone calls, I imagine, went something like this. "Where is David? Get David on the phone. He built this. He's the only one who knows how to fix it." But I was gone. The most dramatic moment was at noon, 2 hours after the failure. The VP of Technology, a man named Mr. Henderson, who had always respected my work, called. I let his first call go. His second call was a text message. "David, this is Henderson. We have a catastrophic failure on the new database. I need your help. This is critical. Call me back immediately. We will discuss compensation." I waited 15 minutes, then I called him back. Henderson was frantic, his voice tight with desperation. "David, thank God. Look, I know Michael and Chad messed up. I know you walked, but we need those access keys. Where are they? We are hemorrhaging money." I kept my voice calm, professional, and entirely devoid of emotion. "Mr. Henderson," I said, "I'm sorry to hear that, but I submitted my resignation on Friday. As of 5:01 p.m. that day, I am no longer an employee of Omnicorp." All company property was left on my desk. He stammered, but the keys, the emergency access. Michael said you were the only one. I cut him off. That specific proprietary sequence of administrative access keys, the golden keys, was a critical component of the data migration, yes. I built it and documented the process. However, that documentation, which I believe is essential for emergency access and rollback, was stored in my personal air-gapped system because of the extreme sensitivity of the information. I had offered to integrate it into the company's secure documentation repository multiple times, but Michael dismissed it as unnecessary procedural overhead. He considered it a brilliant hack, but not a formal part of the new system's official documentation. I let the silence hang there, a heavy, suffocating silence. Henderson finally whispered, "So you're telling me only you know how to get the systems back online?" I paused. "I am telling you that only I have the full, detailed technical schematics and the unencrypted access sequence required to re-establish the custom API handshake and restore full transactional integrity. If I were an employee, I would be happy to fix it, but I'm not. I'm a private citizen now." Then came the negotiation. He offered me a consulting fee. I asked for 10 times that amount, payable upfront, plus a full written apology from Michael to be read to the entire technical department. He tried to haggle. I simply said, "Mr. Henderson, every minute this system is down, you are losing 6 figures in revenue. I'm giving you a deal." I hung up. He called back 5 minutes later and agreed to my terms. I didn't smile, not even then. This wasn't about spite. It was about getting paid my worth finally. I drove back to the office, signing a massive, temporary consulting contract on the hood of my car in the parking lot, and was escorted into the server room like a conquering hero. I ignored Chad, who was sweating profusely and looked like he was about to cry, and I ignored Michael, who looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 days. I sat down at a terminal, pulled the golden key, sequence from my air-gapped drive via a secure temporary connection, and started typing. It took me less than 20 minutes to restore the transactional API and bring the systems back online. It wasn't hard, it was just highly specific knowledge that Michael had dismissed. When the system online message flashed on the main dashboard, the cheers from the control room were deafening. I simply logged off, packed up my laptop, and walked out. I didn't say goodbye. The aftermath was glorious in a professional sense. I got my massive consulting fee. Michael was immediately demoted to a non-managerial role in a satellite office, the official reason being a failure of critical process management. Chad was quietly let go. I later heard he tried to claim he was the one who fixed it. But too many people had witnessed me walking in, doing the fix, and walking out. I had my vindication. I got a senior director offer from a competitor firm 2 weeks later, and I never looked back. The lesson I learned is that sometimes being a brilliant technician isn't enough. You have to be a strategist, not just in your work, but in your career. You have to understand that your *** knowledge ** is your ultimate leverage, and if a company and a boss refuse to acknowledge your worth, you have to be willing to walk away and let the vacuum you leave behind illustrate your true value. It was a brutal move, a high-stakes gamble with my own professional future, but in the end I won everything, and Michael and Chad lost everything. It was the only justice available, so that's my story. I walked away, let the failure happen, and then charged them a fortune to fix the mess created by the people they thought were more qualified than me. I got my revenge, my money, and my new, better job. If you were on my side in this whole mess, please *** like this video ** right now to let me know. *** subscribe ** for more stories of sweet, professional justice like this one. And share your final thoughts on Michael's arrogance and Chad's incompetence, and what you would have done in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.